They'll call it luck. They'll say you were in the right place at the right time. They'll whisper that you had help, privilege, an edge they never had. But they'll never see the nights you went to war with your own mind. They'll never see you sitting alone while the world slept, fighting off fear, rewiring your thoughts, forging a new identity when every voice told you to stay small. They will never know the taste of silence you swallowed to escape the noise of doubt. They will not feel the weight of days you stood with empty pockets, but a full vision, unshakable, defiant, real. You see, every great fortune begins with a quiet battle. No crowds, no applause, just you, your doubts, and a decision. And that decision, it is not made once. It is made daily, not with fireworks, but with fire. A fire that says, I am not here to survive. I am here to create. Because wealth, real, lasting, soul-aligned wealth, does not respond to noise. It does not respond to fear. It does not respond to comfort. It bows only to the trained mind, to the mind that is focused, relentless, and crystal clear. Before wealth shows up in your life, it shows up in your thoughts. And before it appears in your bank account, it must appear in your behavior. So if you feel like the world is overlooking you, if your efforts seem invisible, if your vision feels too big for the space you're in, then good, because that means you're on the right path, the path every great mind has walked. Not one of them escaped the fire, but every one of them was refined by it. This is not about motivation. This is about mental preparation, and this right here is where your journey begins. Wealth does not respond to hope. It does not answer your prayers unless they are backed by precision. Wishing is weak currency in the economy of success. Wealth bows to those who command it, not with arrogance, but with authority, the kind of authority that is born from discipline, from waking up every day with a vision so vivid, so detailed, that reality starts to blur at the edges. That kind of clarity has gravity. When your mind is untrained, you drift, you react, you wait for signs, you wait for perfect timing, perfect conditions, perfect permission. But when your mind is trained, you initiate, you become the signal. You stop watching the waves and become the tide. The wealthy do not hope to be rich. They decide it, and then they move in alignment with that decision until the world catches up. Here's the truth. Most people have weak thoughts, scattered, chaotic, confused. Their minds are tuned to fear, to lack, to noise. They flip between ideas like static on a broken radio, and then they wonder why wealth avoids them. But you, if you're listening to this, you are not most people. You are not here to receive a fortune. You are here to create one, and that creation begins in your mind. You must think with the precision of a sculptor. You must focus with the intensity of a sniper. Every thought is a blueprint. Every belief is a brick. And every decision either builds the palace or burns it down. You don't build wealth with emotion. You build it with vision, strategy, and consistency. You don't wait for the mind to behave. You train it. You command it. Repeat after me. My mind is the headquarters of my fortune. What I think becomes what I build. I command wealth by becoming the person who deserves it. This isn't magic. It's mechanics. The mechanics of mental alignment. When your thoughts are focused, your actions are efficient. When your actions are efficient, your results accelerate. And when your results accelerate, the world calls you lucky. Let them talk. You'll be too busy designing your empire. Wealth is not something you pursue. It is something you attract by becoming someone it cannot ignore. The masses chase money. The masters embody it. There is a difference. You see, if you chase something, you admit you don't have it. You declare lack. You reinforce the gap. And the more you chase, the more you teach your subconscious, I am not enough. But the wealthy, they think like owners. They walk like creators. They breathe like legacy builders. Not because of what they have, but because of who they've trained themselves to be. You don't attract a fortune by faking confidence. You attract it by embodying conviction, by aligning your thoughts, your energy, and your behavior with a version of you who already holds the vision. Ask yourself, how would I think if I already had it? How would I act today if I believed success was inevitable? How would I walk into a room if I knew I had something the world needs? This is the shift that flips the script. You are not on your way to becoming that person. You are that person right now. The rest of the world is simply catching up. The man who becomes wealthy doesn't wait for his bank account to change. He changes his identity first. He lives as if not as fantasy, but as framework. Every action becomes a declaration of who he is. He builds habits that match the identity. He speaks language that reflects power. He surrounds himself with environments that match where he's going, not where he's been. Because he knows this, money doesn't change your identity. Identity changes your money. So stop trying to get rich. Start becoming rich in thought, in energy, in behavior, in decision. You don't need to chase anything. You need to become someone so aligned with abundance that scarcity cannot survive in your presence. The world does not pay for your effort. It pays for your essence. And your essence is shaped, sculpted, and sharpened in your mind. Who are you becoming? Not someday, not if everything goes right, but now, right now. Before the skyscraper, there is the sketch. Before the masterpiece, there is the moment no one sees. And before the fortune, there is a single thought, planted, watered, protected. Every empire ever built began in the invisible. The world may only notice the results, the headlines, the success story, but you must never forget the root is always planted long before the fruit ever appears. Andrew Carnegie imagined steel cities before a single beam was laid. Edison lit up the world inside his mind before the bulb ever glowed. Disney walked through the gates of Disneyland, alone in his imagination, long before the first brick was touched. They all built it first where no one could see, inside, because your mind is soil, and it grows whatever is planted with consistency. Plant fear, grow limitation. Plant doubt, harvest excuses. Plant vision, and watch the world rearrange itself around it. Here's the truth they won't teach you in school. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality. What it sees repeatedly, it begins to accept. What it accepts, it begins to act on. And what it acts on becomes your life. You must train your mind to see what does not yet exist, so clearly, so specifically, that your emotions begin to rise in response. Because when emotion meets vision, your subconscious locks in. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. So how do you begin? You get quiet. You close your eyes. You reject the noise of your current limitations. And you see. You see yourself walking through the life you've chosen. You feel the floor beneath you. You hear the voice of your future self saying, "This is who we are now." And you do it again and again and again until the line between imagination and reality begins to blur. Because once the subconscious is trained, once the blueprint is accepted, the outer world must catch up. That's not magic, that's neurology, that's psychology, that's power. So do not underestimate the unseen. Do not dismiss the silent hours. Do not skip the mental reps. Every mansion begins with an invisible floor plan. Every fortune begins with a single vivid thought. So plant wisely, water daily, and let your mind grow what the world can't yet see. Scarcity is not a condition. It's not a number in your bank account. It's not your job, your background, or your upbringing. It's a virus of the mind. It spreads through words like, "I can't," "That's too much," "People like me don't get that," "I'm just trying to survive." And every time you say it, even in jest, even in passing, you etch that belief a little deeper into your subconscious. Scarcity rewires your operating system to expect less, to fear more, and to shrink your life to fit your comfort zone. But here's what no one told you. Scarcity is optional. You were not born with it. You learned it. And what is learned can be unlearned. Abundance begins with a whisper, not a scream. It says, there is more, there is enough, there is always a way. But you must quiet the noise to hear it. You must unplug from the mental programming of a world addicted to limits, because every billboard, every headline, every news alert screams the same thing: fear, lack, danger, doubt. And if you don't actively protect your mind, you will passively absorb that virus. You must become a guardian of your thoughts, because what enters your mind enters your life. So ask yourself, do I fill my mind with purpose or panic? Do I consume information that builds me or breaks me? Do I speak in limitation or in creation? The language of the wealthy is not, can I afford it? It is, how do I create it? What do I need to become to make this possible? This is how you uninstall scarcity, not by positive thinking, but by strategic reprogramming. You catch the thought, you challenge it, you replace it. Scarcity says, this is too expensive. Abundance replies, what system can I build to afford this without stress? Scarcity says, there are no opportunities. Abundance replies, I haven't created the right signal yet. Scarcity says, this is who I've always been. Abundance says, then it's time to evolve. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are just running outdated software. So update it. Speak differently. Think differently. Move differently. Because once your mind is tuned to abundance, you begin to see opportunities that were always there, hidden in plain sight. Scarcity blinds, abundance reveals, and your thoughts are the lens. You can have the clearest vision, the sharpest mind, and the fiercest desire. But if your environment works against you, you will shrink to survive. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Your subconscious is always watching, always absorbing, always adjusting. If you live in a room filled with scarcity, you begin to breathe it in. If you surround yourself with doubt, you begin to speak its language. If you walk among the small-minded long enough, you will start folding your dreams to fit their approval. The wealthy know this. That's why they choose their environment like a king chooses his inner circle. Not by accident, by design. Ask yourself, who do I spend the most time with? What do they believe about money, about growth, about power? Are they expanding me or containing me? Because proximity is programming, and what you tolerate, you teach your mind to expect. If you're surrounded by people who fear risk, you'll start avoiding your next step. If you're surrounded by those who gossip and complain, you'll start lowering your standards without even noticing. But if you place yourself among visionaries, people who think bigger, move faster, and expect wealth, you will begin to rise simply by being in the room. That's not hype, that's psychology. You grow in the direction of your dominant environment, period. So curate it, build it. If you can't find it, create it. Read books from the minds you admire. Watch content that reflects who you want to become. Declutter your space until it reflects clarity, not chaos. Unfollow voices that limit you. Follow those who challenge you. You cannot afford to let your surroundings shape your standards unconsciously. Your environment should speak your future so loudly that your past feels like a whisper. Because here's the truth. You are not just building wealth. You're building a system that produces wealth. And that system includes your physical space, your digital space, and your social space. You don't rise by accident. You rise by engineering the conditions that make rising inevitable. Motivation is a spark. It's beautiful, but it burns out. Mastery is the fire that never dies. The broke wait for motivation. The wealthy train their minds to move without it. You see, anyone can act when they're inspired. When the sun is shining, the followers are growing. The bank balance looks good. But what about the days when nothing makes sense? When no one's clapping? When doubt is louder than desire? That's where most people quit, because they built their dreams on emotion instead of discipline. But you must build differently. Motivation is fleeting, but mastery is systematic. It doesn't rely on mood. It relies on structure. The wealthy don't ask, do I feel like it today? They ask, what did I promise myself I would do, regardless of how I feel? Because they understand one critical truth. Your destiny is not decided by your high days. It's built in your low days. Those mornings when you rise with no inspiration, but you still move. Those moments when rejection stings, but you still show up. Those weeks when results lag, but your belief does not bend. That's where wealth is forged, in repetition, in silence, in the invisible choices that no one sees until everyone does. But let me go deeper. Discipline is not punishment, it's preparation. It's self-respect in motion. You're not forcing yourself, you're training yourself to act in alignment with the future you've chosen, not the emotion you're feeling. And when the storms come, and they will, when everything shakes and the path looks uncertain, your training will hold, because a trained mind doesn't flinch. It doesn't negotiate with weakness. It doesn't give power to the passing mood of the moment. It remembers the vision. It recalls the reason, and it takes the next step. This is where the gap is created, not in talent, not in luck, but in emotional resilience, the ability to do what needs to be done when you don't feel like doing it, because your standard is higher than your comfort. This is why the wealthy seem so calm under pressure. They've been here before. They've trained for it. Their mind is not a slave to the weather of emotion. It is anchored in decision. That's the secret. Discipline doesn't just build results. It builds identity. And when your identity is rooted in mastery, the world responds in kind. There comes a moment, a line, a point of no return, not outside, inside. You've heard the ideas, you've read the books, you've listened to the motivation, but none of it matters until you decide. Not I want, not I hope, not I'll try. The decision that changes everything is I will. No matter the cost, no matter the time, no matter who doubts me, no matter how many times I fall. That's the threshold the 97% never cross. They flirt with change. They dip their toe in the water of transformation. But when it gets cold, they retreat. When it gets dark, they doubt. You are not here to flirt. You are here to commit, because the universe doesn't respond to hesitation. It doesn't move for the half-hearted. It bends for the bold. It accelerates for those who move with certainty. Think of Henry Ford. They told him the V8 engine was impossible. Not difficult, impossible. And what did he say? Build it anyway. When the engineers came back and said, we've tried everything, it can't be done, he said, keep going. I don't care how long it takes. That is decision, not emotion, conviction, the kind that infects every cell of your body, the kind that no failure can shake, the kind that rewrites the laws of your reality. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Until you make that level of decision, nothing changes. You will stay stuck in the cycle of trying, starting, stopping, second-guessing until another year passes. But once you decide, truly decide, the game shifts. Doors open, people appear, resources move. Reality begins to realign around the signal you're broadcasting, because life does not move for the passive. It moves for the committed. So ask yourself right now, where have I been negotiating with my future? Where have I been asking for permission when I should have been planting a flag? And if the answer stings, good, because pain is a signal. It means you're ready, ready to burn the old blueprint, ready to bury the version of you that hesitated, ready to rise with new thoughts, new rules, and a new standard. So make the decision, not next week, not after you feel ready. Now, you don't need a guarantee. You are the guarantee. You don't need a map. You have a compass, your vision. Step forward. The life you want is waiting on the other side of the moment you stop doubting and start deciding. There are two types of minds in this world, consumers and creators. Consumers wait, react, absorb, drift, watch. Creators move, decide, design, lead, build. Most people have been trained to consume from birth. Consume opinions, consume entertainment, consume fear, consume identity, handed to them by a system that profits from their passivity. And they don't even know they're doing it. They think they're living, but they're just digesting. Living life on autoplay, waking up each day asking, what can I buy? What should I watch? What's trending? The result? Mental fog, financial struggle, spiritual hunger. But here's the secret. The wealthy understand. Wealth is not created by consuming. It is created by solving, by creating value. Andrew Carnegie didn't ask, what job pays more? He asked, what system can I build that serves millions? That's the wealth question. That's the creator question. So what if, starting today, you stopped asking, how can I afford this? And started asking, how can I build something that makes this decision effortless? This is the shift. This is the rewiring of the mind, from spending to investing, from reacting to engineering, from thinking in limitations to thinking in systems. The consumer asks, what will people think? The creator asks, what problem can I solve that they'll never forget? The consumer waits for permission. The creator acts with conviction. And here's the truth. You cannot create wealth with the consumer identity. You can have moments of success, but they won't last, because wealth sticks to those who think like creators, who walk through life as value generators. You must stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give that no one else can give at the level I can give it? You have ideas, you have experience, you have energy. That's your capital. The consumer says, I need more. The creator says, let me multiply what I already have. You don't need a corner office. You don't need a list of titles. You don't need society's permission to begin. You need to flip the switch, because the moment you stop consuming life and start creating it, you become a magnet for results. You become a producer of change, a force in the marketplace, a builder of systems that never sleep, and the world pays builders. Here it is. The law behind all others, the truth beneath every strategy, every book, every story of wealth you've ever heard. Wealth begins in the mind, not in the market, not in the economy, not in the hands of luck or chance or genetics. It begins with a thought, a belief, a vision, so vivid it reprograms the cells in your body to move differently. Your external life is nothing more than a mirror of your internal standards. That's why some people rise from nothing and build empires, while others inherit millions and still lose it all. Because the root of wealth is not found in your wallet. It is found in your wiring. And here's the final unshakable truth. You cannot outperform your self-image. You cannot attract abundance while thinking in scarcity. You cannot hold wealth when your identity is built on survival. If you see yourself as small, struggling, broken, your actions will bend to that story. And even if success arrives, it will slip through your fingers, because your mind will sabotage what it does not believe it deserves. But if you see yourself as capable, creative, powerful, if you train your mind to believe in wealth as natural, as earned, as inevitable, then your reality will rise to match. This is not philosophy. This is neuroplasticity. This is how your brain is wired to work. Repetition is the sculptor of your destiny. You will not become what you visualize once. You will become what you visualize consistently, daily, obsessively, until your brain starts adjusting your behaviors, your standards, your decisions, your circle, and your life to match that image. That's why affirmations aren't woo, they're programming. That's why environment isn't a luxury, it's input. That's why discipline isn't punishment, it's realignment. Wealth is not a finish line, it's a frequency, a rhythm, a state of being. You don't get there by chasing it. You get there by becoming it. So start now. Train your thoughts like a master craftsman, not occasionally, but daily. Feed your mind what it needs to think in solutions, not stories. Visualize your ideal life in high definition until it becomes more real than your current limitations. Speak only words that reflect abundance. Move only in ways that honor your future. Think only thoughts that deserve a seat at the table of your destiny. Because once your mind is wealthy, the world has no choice but to catch up. And when that moment comes, when the outside matches the inside, you will realize you didn't chase wealth. You became it. And now it can't leave.